Hello everyone, welcome on back. It's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sports book. It's Nigel Seeley here alongside our senior ATP Tour handicapper. It is Sean Calvert. Good morning, Sean, or good afternoon, I'm afraid. How are you?
All right, thanks, yeah. It was, it's quite a decent bank holiday yesterday once I realised that it was a bank holiday. Do you know what I did yesterday?
No idea.
Went to Southend United against Dagenham.
I thought you said it was a good bank holiday.
It was all right. You know how many they got for that match?
Oh, I reckon a lot. 5,000.
8,500.
Wow, that is big.
8,500. I mean, it wasn't a great match, by the way, but I took Lagan to watch it. A load of his little mates were there from school and stuff randomly. I think everyone realised, all the parents around here, there was no childcare. It was a bank holiday, so we might as well just take them to the football and sit them there for a couple of hours. But it was all right. Nice bit of football in the sun. 8,500 there. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Southend Football Club. I got asked if I wanted to invest in it once. Southend Football Club. Someone wanted to buy it and asked me if I would invest in Southend Football Club.
I think that could have been any time in the last 30 years.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good catchment area. You just show there 8,000 in a non-league game like that. It's massive.
Yeah. Well, it's because there's nothing else on. There was literally no other football on, and it was, it was a nice day. Dagenham's pretty close. They brought quite a few, so it was, it's quite a good day out actually. Advert plug there for the National League. Go and support your local team.
I've been spending all day trying to sort out Oasis tickets for the reunion.
They're getting back together, are they? Again?
You didn't know that. You must have known that. You cannot not know that. You must have been.
There's a lot of things that I don't know. Things that come up on my Google newsfeed are things like you, and you come up on there. Oasis does not come up on there. I must admit, I have seen them live, but it was like, 20 odd years ago at Finsbury Park. But I thought they'd kind of fallen out permanently.
Nah, well, money talks.
Or are they skint now?
100 million. Well, Noel Gallagher's getting a divorce, so suddenly he's having a reunion, and he's doing a stadium tour. 4 nights at Wembley Stadium with a potential 2 more as well. So
doesn't he normally do like Man City and stuff like that?
Not doing Man City. They're doing Dublin, Murrayfield, Wembley, and I think Croke Park. So
yeah, I don't think I'll be there. I'll be honest. No. I don't think so.
Whatever, got to roll with it, haven't you? Let's move on to the tennis. That's what you've come here for. Some might say that. Yes, you've come here for the tennis. Good day. I mean, we're one winner, one loser on day one. We've got some matches obviously today. We're recording this on Tuesday. Good, and a nice winner, Comesana. What a nice pick that was at plus 250.
Yeah, it's nice when they go the way that you hope and expect them to, or that it was based on fitness, wasn't it, with Stricker? But Comesana, I'll talk about him again in a minute. He's a Grand Slam player, isn't he? Turns up for the majors, not so sure about the rest. But if you could identify those players, it's really helpful, because these matches are being priced up on the last 12 months form or recent form or whatever. And if a player, if you know a player puts another 10-15% in Grand Slams, then that gives you a decent edge, I think. That one worked out well. The other one didn't, because Montero managed to lose his mind from 4-1 up in the second set, didn't he, against Humbert? If he'd have held on, won that second set against Humbert, that would have won. And what a very different match that would have been. But he couldn't hang on, and it was a very, very rare straight sets win for Humbert. The stats were all there for that one, but they don't always work out, do they?
If you haven't seen Sean's breakdown of the Comesana match, it's a work of art. You've got to watch it. It's called it absolutely perfection. You called it absolutely spot on. It was perfect. How you called it the fitness levels. You said how the match was going to go. It was absolutely. It was like it was a master plan.
Oh, here we go. I can't think of any more Oasis records.
Anyway, sorry. I'm joking there. Let's move on to
the Hindu Times in there, am I?
No, exactly. Anyway, let's move on to the day's matches. These are Wednesday's matches. We've got 4 matches we are going to discuss. And let's start off with a match between 2 veterans, I suppose. Well, not veterans, a bit rude to Casper Ruud, but 2 proven players. Casper Ruud against Gael Monfils here. Yeah, Gael Monfils is certainly a veteran. Casper Ruud is a heavy favourite. He's minus 167 against the talented Frenchman who always raises it on the big stage. Gael Monfils is plus 135. The spread here is 2.5, minus 2.5 for Ruud, minus 122. Plus 2.5 for Monfils is minus 105. And the total, as you would expect in a match like this, quite high, 39.5. Casper Ruud has had a pretty bad run. Made the quarterfinals of the Olympics, which is probably one of his best performances of the year. Got beaten in round 16 at Montreal to Corda. Got beaten the second round of Cincinnati to Felix Auger-Aliassime. But he did play well in the first round here. I know it's a step up in opposition here as well. But Monfils, this will probably be one of his last, if not his last, performance in New York. So will he go out on a high, the showman? Interesting match, this one here. Head across to the Bet Rivers website. 37 different markets available on the match. Where do you see the value on this one?
I think Ruud will win it on stamina. He looks like he's over the health issues that he's had recently. He was sick at the French Open, wasn't he? Then he had a fever or something in Montreal. Looked terrible in Cincinnati when he played. Who was it who beat him in Cincinnati? Felix, wasn't it? Felix beat him easy, and he looked awful. But now he seems fine. I think that's the crux of this match. Monfils is 38 in 5 days' time. So he'll be celebrating his birthday at the weekend. Maybe we'll see him. Who knows?
Yeah, might be invited to the birthday.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we might see him. He's 38 in 5 days' time. You've got to question his stamina. I think the key thing about all these matches that I'm about to talk about today for Wednesday is the weather. It's going to be 34 degrees on Wednesday, which is the hottest day of the tournament by a distance. It goes down to 25 the day after, and next week, of course, it gets sort of cooler or stays the same, around about 24, 25, 26. This day, Wednesday, is going to be super hot, so that should be uppermost in your thoughts, really, when you're thinking about betting on Wednesday. 38-year-old Monfils. If we look at their head-to-head, it's one of the matches. I think one of them was in Quito, wasn't it, years ago on the clay at some crazy altitude. Yeah, they don't play there anymore. It was about 4,000 meters of altitude. They had to use special balls and everything to stop them flying all over the place. But the relevant one is when they met in Indian Wells earlier on this season. It was a physical battle, but a very, very serve-dominated battle. Both held serve 94% of the time in what are pretty slow conditions in Indian Wells. High bouncing, slow, hard court. You don't get many matches there that feature 94% holds unless Opelka's playing against, I don't know, Petri Pericard or something. With these two players, both decent returners, you wouldn't have expected it to be that high, but Casper Ruud only won 28% of return points that day. Monfils, 32%. So it's a massively heavily serve-dominated affair, even in slow conditions. And Ruud basically won it on physicality. And I think the same is likely to happen here in 34-degree temperatures. Even if it's a night match, it's still going to be hot. It's going to be uncomfortably hot for playing tennis. Monfils has come in here. He's had a much-needed boost, hasn't he? Because he was in a dreadful form when he was in one of his regular funks until he beat a very much out of sorts Alcaraz in Cincy. He won't mind that Alcaraz was poor that day. It was great for his confidence. He ended up beating Schwartzman here in the first round. Diego Schwartzman, that was his last match, I think, wasn't it? Certainly at the US Open.
Yep.
But in a match that's likely to feature lots of holds of serve, might even go sort of long 4 or 5 sets, you would have to fancy Ruud, who hasn't played that much really since the French Open. I think he's played 9 matches since Wimbledon, which isn't a great deal. And if we also look at what Casper Ruud's done on hard court matches at majors, he's only won 4 of his last 21 completed hard court matches at majors in straight sets. So he tends to win 3-1, 3-2, or of course lose them. So 4 of his last 21 only has he won in straight sets in hard court majors. It just feels like Ruud's going to edge this in the end, just on physicality. Monfils 38. So I like the option here of taking Ruud to win over 20.5 player games. So that's 1.89 minus 112 with Bet Rivers. It also brings in, if he happens to lose it in a long match, that doesn't matter. As long as he wins 21 games or more, I think that's a good bet. I think this is going to go long. I think it will be a physical battle, and I think Ruud will probably edge it, but I can certainly see him having to win 21 games or more to win it.
Yeah, he's played in 2 3-set matches, best of 3-set matches against Monfils before, and he won 16 and 14 games with the extra set, or the extra 2 sets. That does look a nice play there. We touched on the weather conditions there, but obviously on the court speeds as well. A lot of people are saying that it's quicker this year. The balls are obviously a little bit faster. That's another talking point again about the balls I didn't mention at the top of the show. But I know you wait a couple of days before you get your breakdowns on the court speeds. Are you seeing that it's quick?
There's no stats yet because I've only got stats from qualies, which are kind of misleading, really. It looks like a medium-paced hard court to me. It doesn't look particularly quick. I'd say maybe slightly quicker than last year when it was sort of on the slower side. The players that have come out and commented have said it's quite a bit. I mean, Iga Swiatek said it was quite a lot slower than Cincinnati. Lindsay Davenport also said that. I think the women are using the regular duty balls, the US Open regular duty balls. Last year, they always did use the regular duty balls in the women's tournament, but last year they changed it to the extra duty, the same as the men. And there was so many complaints, they've switched it back to regular duty. But I was told by the tournament that the men are still using the extra duty balls, which are the slightly slower balls. But it just looks like a decent pace, medium-paced hardcore. It doesn't look quick, doesn't look slow. Yeah, I'd say it was medium.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to our Instagram and Twitter accounts as well. At Because We Win, myself and Sean will be over in New York from Thursday this week. Sean will be following me a couple of days later, and you'll be able to get all the action. Courtside, court speeds, bring your rain jacket, whatever you want to do, and you'll be able to cover it. Do you take rain jackets? I'm not going to take a rain jacket. You taking a rain jacket?
I wish I did in Madrid, that's for sure. Who takes a rain jacket to Madrid where it's like 30 odd degrees generally? I go and it's 11. Am I taking a rain jacket? No. Yeah, you don't need it. It's not going to be cold. It's just going to be like 26, 27, bits of rain here and there. They've got roofs on, certainly on Armstrong and Ash. I don't know about Grandstand. Don't think Grandstand does it? Armstrong definitely does.
They've got roof in the bars, haven't they? You don't need it.
I don't spend much time in there, so I couldn't tell you. Not at about $15 a pint or whatever it is. Bit pricey for me, that. We'll
$18. I think it was $18, and I had one of those cocktails last year. The ones with all the previous winners on the cups. It was like
this is not something I do.
It was a Grey Goose cocktail, and I think
I was going to say the Grey Goose
$25. I think it was.
Yeah, it's not value, is it? I like to point out value on this show. I'm not seeing much value in a $25 cocktail or a $18 beer. It's
you got to be done once in a while. You got to have it. You got to have
maybe I'll have one on a Sunday or something.
Maybe. Okay, let's move on. Hopefully, cover these cash so we can afford the Grey Goose cocktails. Other vodka suppliers are available. Let's move on to the next match. Carballes Baena against Shang. Shang come through a very controversial match where he kept Mr. Bublik waiting in the 5-set match. Carballes Baena also come through a 5-set match against Choinsky, the Brit. Been a bit of money around for the Spaniard here, Carballes Baena. He has won the previous meeting between the two in Bordeaux, but that was on clay.
He lost that, didn't he?
Sorry, Shang won that. Sorry, yeah. I saw he won the first set 6-1. I presumed he went on and won it, but he didn't. Shang won that one in 2024 in Bordeaux, but it was a 3-set match. Carballes Baena won the first set 6-1. Looking at the betting on this one here, Bet Rivers expected to go the similar way. Shang is minus 375. Carballes Baena is plus 275. The spread is 5.5. Minus 117 for Shang. Minus 109 for Carballes Baena receiving the start, and 36.5 are the totals. Under minus 110 and over minus 115. Both of these come through long matches, Sean, didn't they? So there could be a little bit of fatigue, questionable for both of these players in what is going to be very hot conditions.
Yeah, this is another one like the Comesana bet that we had the other day against Stricker yesterday. In fact, it just feels like another one where the heat will probably play a part. And this is a crazy price on Shang. Yeah, I couldn't believe these prices when I first looked at it. Unless they're assuming that Carballes Baena is absolutely shattered after his 4.5-hour match against Choinsky, which, yeah, he probably was a bit tired, but it's only one match and he has got a couple of days to recover. It's not like he was massively struggling. All right, he was a bit fatigued, but I didn't really see a major problem. I saw quite a bit of that match against Choinsky. It's just a crazy price. I mean, both had 5-setters in round one, as you said. I'm guessing from what you've just said that you watched some of that Shang Bublik match. I didn't.
I watched the last set because I bet Shang in play, and I watched the last set, and he kept him waiting for about 20 minutes.
For medical, by any chance?
Yeah, and Bublik wasn't happy.
He's very rarely happy, isn't he? For an early start as well for him, that wasn't it? 11 a.m. or something.
Yeah, we always weren't happy.
So both are coming off the back of 5-setters. Shang's fitness has always been a huge issue for him. He had 3 medical timeouts in that match against Bublik. Back problems, finger issues as well, I think there was. In any case, Bublik hasn't looked fit or kind of at it for months on end now, so I wouldn't be putting too much store in that victory. Bublik doesn't look at it at all. Shang's got a storied history of struggling with physical issues. He quit Winston-Salem, didn't he, last week when we backed him? Won the first 2 rounds and then immediately withdrew. He also retired in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago in very hot and humid conditions after, I think, 5 games against Rinderknecht, I think it was. You've got to question whether he's fit enough to go 5 sets in 34-degree heat, having just played a 5-setter against someone like Carballes Baena, who you would certainly put Carballes Baena in a higher bracket of fitness and durability than Shang, who, you know, he's the kind of modern-day Nishikori, really. They both trained together at Bradenton, I think, so they probably had enough physical chats, those two, I should think. Even if you take all that out, even if you take away the physical issue, there's no statistical reason why Shang should be this short. Last 12 months on outdoor hard at main level, they've both got exactly the same service points won and return points won, total of 100. So there's nothing in it there. Carballes Baena, I assume the layers are just thinking, oh, he's a clay dog. Not really the case. I mean, yes, you would say clay is his best surface, but quick clay is his best conditions. Twice a finalist in Marrakesh, won it once. Also won in Quito at a very, very high altitude. And those are the only 3 finals he's made. He tends to be, for me, I don't like him in really slow conditions because he gets bogged down and he hasn't got the power to hit through the courts. But here, he gets a bit more bang for his buck, if you like, on quicker conditions. I think he knocked down 18 aces against Choinski yesterday. Won something like 78% of his first serve points. So it's a bad price on Shang. I'm just going to take Carballes Baena. Bet Rivers will pay out if this match is a retirement after the first set is complete, which is always possible in Shang matches, and certainly more so if you know that they're playing in 34-degree heat. It doesn't make any sense. Last time they met on clay, Shang was which is only 3 months ago. I know you would expect Carballes Baena to win on clay, but 2.43 plus 143 Shang was. Now he's minus 375. No, not for me. If he's going to win this Shang, it's not going to be easy unless Carballes Baena is really struggling physically, which I would doubt. You know, this is a guy who beat Holger Rune in the first round here, US Open last year. I think he's got 6-6 win-loss record at the US Open main draw. He can play in these conditions. Yeah, all day long I'll be taking the value on Carballes Baena there.
Yeah, I mean, he is being better than nibbled in the market at the moment. So if you want to take that price on Carballes Baena, you may have to be quick. If the line does move, which I think it potentially could do, what price? Anything bigger than 2-1?
He isn't 2-1 at the minute, is he?
He's plus 240.
Let me sort out
He's moved already from plus 275 to plus 240.
Oh, so that 275's gone, has it?
Yeah, that's gone. It's plus 240 now.
Okay. I mean, it's still value. I mean, the guys have got very similar records on hard courts, and I certainly wouldn't take anything approaching even a vaguely short price on Shang in these conditions, not against this opponent.
Remember, Bet Rivers will have a whole host of special offers available on the app and on the website on the US Open throughout the tournament. You'll be able to get them if you head to the app and look for the offers, and you'll be able to see some there. And definitely anything bigger than 2-1 Carballes Baena, perhaps, is a little bit of value there. Money is coming, so it's going to move. It's a moving market. Let's move on to the next match. Hugo Humbert didn't do us any favours yesterday with his Montero match. We wanted him to at least lose 1 set and cash on the overs. He didn't. He won in straight sets for a rarity against Montero. But the man he's playing, Francisco Comesana, it was our friend yesterday, and hopefully he might be our friend again today. Very, very, very heavy favourite for Hugo Humbert. I'm staggered by this. Humbert is minus 1,115. Comesana is plus 700. What's he done? Lost a leg or something after the match? The spread here is a huge 7.5. Comesana receiving 7.5, minus 105. And the total's ridiculously low here. Over 31.5 is minus 120, and under 31.5 is minus 107. Honestly, Sean, I would look at these prices, and I would probably expect Hugo Humbert to be about minus 600. I think the spread would probably be around about minus 5.5. And I thought the totals would be 33.5, 34.5. So very, very surprised by these prices.
He's going to have to play a heck of a clean match to justify those odds, isn't he? Which he very rarely does in Grand Slams. As it happens, he did against Montero, although, as I said, Montero should have won the second set there. And you feel like it would have been the usual struggle for Humbert. When he's playing and well and flowing and everything's working, it looks great. But he very rarely stays at that level for a whole match, certainly at majors. Now he's got another match that's got the potential to go longer than the layers expect. Comesana, as I said before, he's a bit of a slam bunny, isn't he? He's certainly developed into that way recently, playing much better in majors than the general run-of-the-mill tour. He's also got the advantage of just having just played a very similar opponent in Stricker, an attacking left-hander, kind of the same as Humbert, not completely the same, but very, very similar. I feel like that's an advantage for Comesana as well. Just looking at the match against Stricker, his serve is very underrated, Comesana. He out-aced Stricker in that match yesterday, won 77% of his first serve points. I know Stricker had a bit of a bad day on serve. He could barely buy a first serve, but even so, the ones that Stricker did get in, Comesana won a higher percentage of his first serve points. If you look at the stats for Comesana in his last 4 Grand Slam matches, which were against Stricker, Rublev, Massetti, and Walton, 4 decent opponents. A couple of them top 20, one of them top 10. He's on a service points won and return points won total of 100. So he's held his own at least against 4 very good opponents in quickish conditions. US Open and Wimbledon. It's not slow. And if you look at Humbert, all time in majors away from clay, his service points won and return points won total is only 101. So it's just another crazy price. I mean, there's loads of ways to play this. Comesana over 12.5 player games is the one that I like. He's got to win 13 games in the match, which, if he wins a set or one of them's like a tie-break, he probably will do that. But there are plenty of other ways to play it. Plus 7.5 games, the totals over 31.5, all that stuff. But yeah, Comesana over 12.5 player games for me, 1.9 minus 111 with Bet Rivers.
Yeah, lots of ways to get with the Italian in this match. He's not Italian. Is he Italian? Is he Italian or Argentinian?
Comesana, I think he's Argentinian, isn't he?
I thought when I said Italian, I realised I think he's Argentinian. I think I made a rip there. Anyway, plenty of ways to get with him. I like the over 31.5. I think the 31.5 here is a huge price at minus.
Yeah, he's Argentinian.
120. Yeah, I think that's a big price there. So we want to get with the Argentinian. The way to do it, very many different ways to do it. 37 different markets available to do it with Bet Rivers. Head across there and be able to play whichever way you want to on that match. But Comesana certainly represents the value against an erratic Humbert that very rarely plays his A game. And even though he come through yesterday, very fortunate to come through in straight sets yesterday. Let's move on to the final match, and this is probably the biggest match. Well, it is the biggest match of the day tomorrow. The action starts at 11 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, so make sure you get your wagers down. The order of play isn't known yet, but it will be known later on today, and you'll see the schedule. But this match here is the biggest match of the day. Matteo Berrettini on the comeback trail, player that I love to watch. Big fan of Berrettini. He's up against Taylor Fritz, the American number 1. Fritz is the favourite here at minus 175. Berrettini is plus 140. The spread is 2.5 total. No surprise, look at that, 42.5 over minus 113, under minus 112. At first glance, you might look at that price and think Berrettini's got to be a better plus 140, but the head-to-head is where this market probably is looking at, because Taylor Fritz has played Berrettini 3 times before and he's won all 3. The last 2 matches they played, he won in straight sets. At the United Cup, with no surprise, it was 2 tie-breaks, 7-6, 7-6. And Indian Wells in 2021, it's 6-4, 6-3. It's also all about Berrettini's fitness levels in what is going to be a very, very, very hot and humid day. This one here, it's the survival of the fittest, isn't it?
I guess it depends when they schedule it. We haven't got the luxury of knowing that at this exact moment in time. I think the schedule will be quite important here. I just think it's a really good matchup for Taylor Fritz. Much better backhand than Berrettini. Berrettini is all about the huge serve, huge forehand. If you can lock him in to a load of backhand to backhand battles, which Fritz doesn't mind at all, he's got a much more reliable backhand. It's a better backhand than Berrettini's, and he's a better returner as well. If we look at the head-to-head of those 3 matches, it does it does kind of tell a tale, really. Service points won and return points won totals 106 to 94 in favour of Taylor Fritz. Fritz winning 81% of his first serve points compared to 72% for Berrettini, so his serve has proved the bigger out of the two, or certainly the better if you want to look at it that way. Fritz also wins 50% of his second serve points. Berrettini only wins 44%. And big difference on return as well, as you would expect. Berrettini only wins 31% of return points. Fritz is on 37%. So, head-to-heads aren't everything, but in a match like this, I think it's pretty relevant. The other factor to take into consideration, as you mentioned, is the fitness aspect. Berrettini said after beating Albert Ramos yesterday, he said, "I haven't trained a lot here in New York, and so I expected not to have the best possible sensations." That's probably a translation. He probably doesn't mean sensations, but that's kind of what he means. The fact that he hasn't trained a lot, that sort of stands out to me. That suggests that yet again he isn't fully fit. And in a hot day, 34 degrees, even if it's a night match. I mean, a night match would benefit Fritz, you would think anyway, slower. Yeah, you certainly wouldn't benefit Berrettini. When they played at Indian Wells in slow conditions, Fritz won 6-4, 6-3. So slower, you would think, would benefit Fritz rather than Berrettini. So I've got fitness doubts about Berrettini. I've got matchup doubts about Berrettini. Fritz, obviously, at his home major. No problem with motivation on his part. So I would be tempted with Fritz minus 2.5 games here based on the stats. I think he's much more likely to break serve. If Berrettini's going to win sets, he'll probably win them 7-6, you would think. I think Fritz is more likely to nick a 6-3, 6-4 sort of set. So I'd probably go with the minus 2.5 games there. I think it's a good matchup for Fritz. Minus 2.5 games, I think, is 1.9, minus 111 with Bet Rivers, where it was earlier.
Yeah. The stats on the head-to-head, very, very one-sided in favour of Fritz. Berrettini, obviously that injury doubt. People are hoping and praying that he can come back because he's a great player. But it might be a tough ask on what it's going to be the hottest day there of the year. And obviously with a very, very partisan crowd as well cheering on Taylor Fritz, given all the record on the head-to-head as well, that Sean believes that he's probably the value, or a lean on the value, minus 2.5 on the game handicap. As I've been recording this podcast, I've got the worst sniffly nose. I've just come all like a cold come over me straight away. It's the last thing you need when you want to be boarding on an aeroplane, to get a sniffly cold.
Hay fever?
I don't know what it is. It's just my nose just started running, and I'm having to stare at the light to stop myself from sneezing. I don't know. Is that to make you sneeze or stop you sneeze?
I've never heard
apparently,
of that.
if you stare a light, you either sneeze or it stops you sneezing. Let us know in the comment blocks of below, whatever you think.
I can't imagine staring at a light is good for your eyes.
Something like that. Well, my eyesight's shocked anyway. They're shot to bits anyway. I wouldn't worry about that. Don't worry about it. So there's 4 matches that we have for you. Now, obviously, there's a whole host of matches available. People say, why don't you talk about that match? Why don't you talk about that match? But these are the ones we've got the strong opinion on. You've also got Serendulu in action against Echeverry, an interesting game. You have Ben Shelton, who was in great form yesterday, as well, in action tomorrow as well. And a whole host of other matches. I think Novak Djokovic will be in action as well. So lots to talk about, lots of bets to have as well. But these are the 4 matches that we think the best value is. And where do you think the best value lies, Sean?
I'm probably going to take the first 3. I think all them are decent. I think Casper Ruud will get the fitness edge over Monfils, so over 20.5 games for Casper Ruud. 1.89 minus 112 Bet Rivers against Monfils. Definitely taking anything above 2-1, as you said, in the match. Carballes Baena against Shang. Definitely concerned about Shang in those conditions, that's for sure. 34 degrees, and once again, I'm gonna take on Humbert. I think it's very strong trends of Humbert struggling to win matches in straight sets. Comesana, a little bit underrated, I think, by the books. I think they've based it on his general form. So he seems to be one of those players that does raise his game at Grand Slam. So for him to win over 12.5 games in the match against Humbert is also about 1.9 minus 111 with Bet Rivers.
Yeah, I like over 31.5 games in that match. Well, on the total, I think.
Yeah,
that's,
any of those.
Play. Yeah, I'll be playing that. I'll be playing your picks as well, and obviously that I throw that one as well. Going to go. I don't like to go all in on one player on multiple different markets, because if you get it wrong, you get it wrong so many times.
Yeah.
But obviously,
I have got Humbert wrong a lot, I should say, because he's a very difficult guy to call, isn't he? When he is playing well and it's flowing, he does look great, but far too often for me, he plays a good first set and then just the level just goes and he has to try and get it back again, and it tends to be a struggle for him most of the time.
Yep, that's all the action you have here. Previewing these matches are on Wednesday. Our final podcast before we jet off to New York will be tomorrow, looking at Thursday's matches as well. And then you'll be able to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We're doing some content live. We're doing some podcasts live in New York, and also doing some stuff courtside, giving you some in-play picks that will be available exclusively on our Instagram account. Make sure you download this podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Huge amount, I keep saying it every week, but a huge amount of subscribers coming in every day now to the YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Some might say it's one of the best YouTube channels around. I wouldn't say that, but anyway, make sure you one of them. Another Oasis plug there. But if you
did some might say earlier, didn't I?
Did you do? Oh, did you do?
Yeah,
Oh,
did that one.
It. Oh, no. You could if you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, Betting Weekly Studios on there, and keep across all the content, not only on tennis but also on the soccer as well. The Premier League is back and the European League, and this time in a couple of weeks' time, the Champions League is back as well. Now live shows every day at 11 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be covering all the major betting rules on Bet Rivers HQ and giving you the best bets for that day. Okay, that's it for today. Sean, thank you very much for your time. Thanks very much for everyone for watching. And we'll be back again tomorrow looking at Thursday's matches at the US Open. Take care.